All right, a very good evening to you. I am meteorologist Jack Drake. We are here to talk about a larger storm threat that looms for Saturday. Feels a little bit silly to talk about the larger storm threat Saturday when we had such trouble with the smaller storm threat earlier today. And that's going to live in my head rent free for a while there. I was talking to my dad about it, and I was like, I can never remember that light of snow having that sort of travel impacts midday. We've seen stuff before where maybe it was later in the day or earlier in the morning, right when it came in. But I couldn't remember ever seeing that kind of that 11:30 to 1 time frame where things went downhill, and that was it. It really was out of here by 2. I think roads improved quickly. My wife went to IKEA in the morning, then drove home in the afternoon, and really didn't have any issues. So it was just a really weird storm, really weird day. But real quick, yeah, shout out to sponsors of the video, JLP Roofing, Danbury's hometown roofing contractor, and then Spice City FC, Danbury's first professional soccer team. Really cool arena-style soccer they're bringing to the DIA starting on Sunday. So home opener Sunday, we'll see if we get it in or we'll see if there's a blizzard. So talking about the Saturday storm, we'll open it up. So I got a few models loaded up tonight. We got European we're going to look at. We got the GFS we're going to look at. And we have the Canadian. So 3 different scenarios. At this range, I mean, really, we're still 5 days away, right? We don't know exactly what's going to happen. A lot of different scenarios are possible. But I do think the European here, usually my favorite, has a little bit of issues, but I don't know if it's handling some of the energy completely well. So we'll take it through time here. Right now, you're looking at pressure, so that probably doesn't mean a whole lot, but it is going to be windy this week. I don't want to understate that, too. I know everyone looks ahead. They look at the snow forecast. Okay, it's snow today. It's going to snow Saturday. I lose what's in between. But we're talking about big winds coming in this week. Gusts 40 to even 45 miles per hour Tuesday and Thursday are going to be the windiest days. Wednesday's still going to be windy, but it's going to be more of a breezy. But cold nonetheless. So this is our current storm that we have that's tracked off the East Coast here. The low slid well south of us. We got our light snow. It got out of here. We could see a snow shower in between Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time frame as we get some of these Great Lakes streamers come in. And I apologize if that happens a lot. My mouse is driving me a little crazy today. But really, the storm that we're going to want to watch is here in Texas. So the energy is going to kind of come in. We have what's called a Baja Vort. So a Baja Vorticity maximum. What that means is that the energy is going to come in over Baja California. Usually it doesn't snow there, but then that energy will come in into the United States combined with usually another piece of energy from Canada or somewhere in the northern stream, as we call it. And that's what will create your storm. So those are the ingredients that create the storm. The storm will kind of form over Texas and then track to the east, northeast. And that's where we're going to see where exactly it goes. So there's pretty good model consensus that we get to hear. Good model consensus, we get to this storm that forms Texas, Oklahoma. If you have any interest in Dallas, any interests in Oklahoma City metro, those folks don't usually see big snowstorms. They're definitely in line for this one. So there's a lot of buzz on that and the weather, on the weather Twitter pages and the weather media pages. So you'll watch the storm track to the east. Now, this is the European model, so this is going to be the weakest eventual solution. I started with the weakest. We'll go to the most. And that energy kind of loses its coalescence. It gets what's called strung out. We call the system strung out. It weakens, and we get a little bit of light snow here in Connecticut. So it's not nothing, right? Not nothing. We still have every major model's got something. So this will be more of a 1 to 2 inch type deal. As we head into the weekend, it's all out of here by really Saturday afternoon. And Sunday's just kind of another cold and breezy day. So that's the European, kind of lackluster, pretty much a non-event. It loses a lot of that energy. Like I said, the energy gets strung out. I can show you what I mean by that in more detail here. So this is the meteorology that you guys seem to want. So if you follow other pages, they give you the snow maps, they give you what's going on the surface. We try to explain it a little bit more in depth here. So this is a really good depiction of what happens. So again, I talked about the Baja Vorticity maximum. That's Baja California. That's the vorticity maximum, right? So watch this as it looks healthy, gets to Texas, but then again, it gets strung out and it kind of loses its juice. All those greens go away. So not really seeing it. Now, I'm going to pull up the Canadian quick, and you'll see kind of immediately a difference on the Canadian at this level. So we get that same Baja Energy Vort, right? So we're doing okay so far. Very similar to the European solution. That makes it to Texas. Texas gets their snowstorm, and then we move on to the east. But notice that those greens, that kind of that vorticity maximum, right? That spin kind of keeps together, holds together, and you get a stronger storm that slides off the east coast. So what does this look like at the surface? Again, we can go up to see that, and you'll notice that's a little bit more snow. So now we're talking about a 2 to 4, maybe a 3 to 6 type deal. This one's a little bit south, so it'd probably be closer to 2 to 4, but easily could become a 3 to 6 or a more moderate snowstorm on the Canadian model. So those are the first two, right? And then again, I'm going to take it back to that because I really do think it's a good representation. Take it back to the 500, and we'll look at the GFS. Now, the GFS is an American model. Did not do well today. If you ask the GFS initialized this morning, the 12Z run, right, that we would look at comes out about, it actually comes out at 11 a.m., 11:30 a.m., said that there was no snow in Connecticut, did not have one flake in Connecticut. So we're dealing with a little bit of a, we kind of got to put that aside and look at what's trying to do late week, knowing that it messed up this morning. So, again, notice that Baja Vort tracks into Texas really strong here. Looks really good. And then that's going to come across. And this is a great position. You go a little bit negative with the trough here. That's really pretty fire for a major winter storm. And you'll get that nice, the 500 millibar low tracks right off Cape Cod. The surface low is going to track right off the benchmark. That's what we look at for a really big storm. So this has got all the markers of a big one. Looks really good on the upper air charts here. Plenty of cold air in place. I'll zoom out a little bit, and just because this is a very textbook example. So you have some high heights over Greenland. You got high heights. This is so we call it plus PNA, the Pacific Oscillation is in good. Basically, you want to see ridging up here. Check. You want to see ridging up here. Check. You want to see what we call a 50-50 low here. 50 degrees latitude, 50 degrees longitude, check, right? So it's all lining up, trough over the middle of the country, good, and then you get that big snowstorm. So let's look at what that looks at the surface, what that looks like, and this is going to be a pretty epic run. Let me zoom in so we can all see what we're looking at here. They are fun to look at. I don't post the snow maps and try to get clicks from it, but they are fun to look at, especially when you see one like this. So zoom into Hartford. So this brings it in a little later too. So that's one of the things. It's not as sheared out. It's not as strung out. So it's going to come in a little bit later because it's a stronger storm. So this would be Saturday afternoon early. We get into the heavy snow, really heavy snow over Connecticut. This particular run tracked it to the point where we're going to have a little bit of mixing issues here in the southeast. But notice we have so much cold air in place, even with the low kind of hanging out right off Long Island. The model still wants to have snow through pretty much all of Connecticut. So that's a really good sign that you have cold air in place, is you get a low track that close, and we're still creating snow. New York City, I mean, this is like, this particular run just really targets Greater Danbury here. That's Ridgefield. That's really in the maximum. And then, even you got a nice wraparound band here. This is really classic stuff. So we'll go through, I'll just show you because, again, we're having fun. What that looks like in terms of snowfall. Yeah, so big numbers. We expected that just based on how the upper air maps looked, right? So that's the GFS 20 inches. So now I guess there's a lot of those maps that get shared on social media where it's like the whole East Coast 0 to 60 inches. And there's some truth to that, right? Like there is a little bit of a high end potential with this. We are seeing some model runs that are coming back. Hey, if that energy holds together, it looks like it's going to be in a good spot off the East Coast. We know we have favorable upper level air patterns. We know we have good blocking. We know we have things in place that could make this pop and explode. Definitely could happen. There's also, the European which is going to be a lot less. So that's like an inch, right? So that's where you go from that 0 to 60. So what do I think is going to happen? If I had to guess right now, I think I'd take a more conservative approach. Than the GFS, probably a little bit more aggressive than the European here. And I'll flip back to the GFS because that doesn't make the good wall candy, right? But I'd probably go with a more middle ground. I think a moderate snow is fair right now because we know we're going to have a storm. We know that storm's going to track off the East Coast. It's just a matter of exactly where it goes, exactly how that energy is able to hold together or not hold together. This seems a little bit too strong to me, given the pattern. It almost seems like we shouldn't be seeing mixing issues in the Southeast coast with the way the pattern is. That's just how I see it. But again, it's a potential solution, one of many. If we go back and these change so fast, run to run. I'll show you the 12Z. Might even be higher. Yeah, with the 12Z. 12Z was 2 feet, right? So now we're getting these consistent runs on the GFS that are big runs. It does show you that there's an indicator that, hey, maybe this one is the real deal. Maybe we could get a high-end solution off this, right? And I'll show you one more thing in terms of model consistency that I was looking at before. And this doesn't mean that the GFS is right or the European's wrong. It was just something that I noticed early on, again, 5 days out. These are the kind of signs I look for, but I'll zoom out and we're going to take a look at, I can do the East here. That'll probably show it pretty well. And we'll look at the ensemble. So when you look at an ensemble, I don't know what the right way to say it. When you look at an ensemble, you can look at what's called the low locations. So this is where all the potential storm tracks of each member of the model go. So right within each weather model, there's several model members on an ensemble, slightly different algorithms to give slightly different solutions, blah, 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 blah. But basically, like, you can see kind of what the model's trying to do. And in this case, let's go to, this is Saturday afternoon. Notice on the Euro, right? Really spread out. I got low locations flying all over the place. They're all pretty weak. They're all near 990 to 1,000 millibars, right? But they're all over the place. I got lows in New Jersey. We got lows off of the Carolina coast. We got lows near Bermuda. Like they're really all over. Now, the GFS thinks it's on to something a little bit more concise. I pressed the wrong thing here. But the GFS thinks that we're seeing a more consolidated area where those low tracks might happen. So instead of being literally the entire Atlantic Ocean, it's a little bit more concentrated. And these are a little bit stronger. So you're seeing, these 974s, these 975s. A lot of these lows, notice, are to the south and to the east of where that main model run is too. So that's something else we look at, right? I think the this one, it was off Long Island, right? The GFS run, the 18Z run was off Long Island. A lot of the members are a little bit south and east of that. So, that's something that I would definitely flag as, hey, maybe that GFS run's a little bit overdone, right? Maybe it's a little bit too far north. Maybe that we need to adjust that to the south. So again, early on, but these are things that we're looking at. I think this is actually doing a pretty good job for 5 days out. If this cluster sticks, this will be a big win for the GFS. But definitely could be a big snowstorm. I'm going to see what the, again, I have to go back to the Canadian here to see what it delivered. I didn't look at the surface map yet for what it delivered locally. In terms of snow, we can definitely look at it. So yeah, it tracks it again. It's a little bit farther south. It's kind of in that GFS envelope, but it does give a nice burst of snow to Connecticut. Certainly a nice burst of snow a little bit farther south. There's areas that got hit today, right? Long Island, New Jersey, Delaware. Delaware's having a big year so far. I knew a meteorologist from Delaware told me he never saw a foot of snow, right? They had like 10 inches today. So they're doing well down there. But that's, again, is this the final solution? Probably not. I could definitely see it in the middle somewhere. And if it tracks near that benchmark, which I know is hard to see on this, probably because you're watching through my screen, which is through a screen, but it's right about where my cursor is. That's where you want the low to track if you want a big storm. Generally, a lot of our storms, especially in Western Connecticut, you want it right at that or just inside of it. You almost want it a little bit inside the benchmark. I always say track between here in Nantucket are kind of your goalposts for the big ones in Western Connecticut. If you're in Boston, obviously you want it a little bit farther south and east. So, again, things we look at. I told you I look at the surface map. So again, yeah, I said I thought it was a 2 to 4. It's pretty much right there. It's probably a 1 to 3. But you get the idea. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for now. I just wanted to come on, show you, hey, I think this does have potential to be a big storm. I'm not trying to be a hater when I post those like censored, like you shouldn't look at the snow maps. It's really just the fact that when you're a week out, right, there's so much meteorology to look at. There's so many things that need to happen that really looking at one model depiction or one surface snow map is just not the way to do it, right? But when we start lining up all the factors and we say, oh, okay, I really do think this could be a moderate, maybe has potential to be a high-end event, right? I think that's fair. I don't think it's fair to just rip, oh, hey, this one said 36 inches. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of value in that. So, yeah, I'll go through some of the comments here. Again, thank you so much for all the sports today. I know it was a little bit of a rough one. Yeah, so Nina, you're talking about the wind. Yeah, the wind's going to be pretty intense this week. Again, Tuesday and Thursday for the wind, like serious. I don't want to understate it. I think it's going to be crazy. And if you work outside or even like peripherally outside, you're really going to want to bundle up because that wind will cut right through you. Right, temperatures in the mid to upper 20s, gust 45 miles an hour. It's going to be very windy. Yeah, Sandra, you're probably happy we got a blizzard. Sandra always roots for snow. This is the question of the hour. Will schools have a delay in Bethel? I don't know. I'm not as good at forecasting the delays when they're kind of the day after, right? Like, I think I have a good idea, a good grasp of what happens during the snowfall usually, or when the storm's forecast to occur. Once it gets after in a situation like this, it's really up to DOT, right? Did they get is it going to be windy enough to dry up any of the residual moisture tonight? Sounds like it right now. Wind is usually good to dry up, but will there be icy spots? Will those icy spots be enough for the DOT to call the schools and say, hey, we got a delay? It's tough. It's tough. I'd say there's some chance. There's probably a low chance of delays. Would be the way I put it. Please delay. Yes. Yep. JLP, thank you for the sponsoring the video. John really is the man too. I got to make a post for him because, I really only partner with brands that I think believe in Danbury, believe in our area, right? And he definitely is one of them. So, again, really appreciate it. Thank you, Jennifer. We are bringing on the snow. We need a good storm, I think. Now, I know people will root against it, but it just seems to me like we've had a lot of cold this year. And the worst years to me are when we have a lot of cold, we don't cash those in with at least one snowstorm. Right? You want to kind of, if you're going to be freezing every day, yeah, Adam, the Mazda did plow right through that. Katarina was very safe driving our CX-50 today. Adam sold that to us. Thank you. Yeah, we'll work on the delays until Sunday, but I do think this is probably midday Saturday, right? If I had to guess, I'd say midday Saturday through Saturday night and sometime early Sunday morning, my guess with the timing. Joe doesn't want to see any of that. We're getting Joe out of here. This is a good question. So JD, which model is historically more accurate? So historically, right, if we're talking about when I was in college, like if we're talking about 2012, to the 2014 through 2015 was probably the Euro. There was a storm in 2015 that we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of, January 26, 2015. And why do I remember that storm? Because the Europeans said consistently for 4 days, 3 days, whatever it was, that we were going to get 30 to 36 inches of snow every single run for 3 days. So that's like 12-mile runs in a row, right? GFS said, hey, maybe you get a foot. GFS backed off last minute. Euro was still saying 3 feet. We got like 6 inches. So it's probably one of the biggest forecast busts ever. So ever since that day, it's kind of just, I know it's one storm, right? It's one storm. The European, I tend to show it more. I don't know if that means anything. I really think they're they're 1A and 1B in terms of accuracy. The GFS wins sometimes, the Euro wins sometimes. It's really over the years, it's gotten closer to 50-50. Let's see. The cat is scratching at the door. I don't know if you can hear that. It's so annoying. I'm just going to let the cat out super quick. But yeah, I mean, we're strapping the plows up. Absolutely. And thank you, Lindsay. I really do appreciate that. I try to show some of the upper air charts. Like a lot of meteorologists shy away from that. They're certainly not going to show that on the news. It's one of the things they don't. You're not supposed to say the word vorticity. I never quite understood that, right? I think people, especially people that want to follow the weather, want to tune in. Yeah, they want the forecast. Yes, they want kind of like the bare bones. It's gonna be 3 inches of snow. That's it. But they also want to know why, and especially on a day like today where there was kind of a surprise. I think it's good to share the why, right? It's like, hey, we had a band of snow that came. There's a little frontogenesis to the north that formed north of modeling, and the band in New York or New Jersey kind of petered out, so our band was able to strengthen a little more. Like it's interesting. Mike's thinking 6 to 12 inches. I don't mind that. Mark's he's saying the Euro. Let's see. Oh. Mouse let me down again. I'm getting a new mouse tomorrow. I promise. Keep telling my coworkers that too. Hopefully the Euro caves to the Canadian, the GFS. Perhaps not the storm of the decade, but at least a good one. It's been a couple of years since we've had a good one, especially in Danbury, right? I think we had the one last year that was poorly forecast, right? We said it was going to be 4 to 8 at the last second, then it went back up to 16 inches. That was tough. That was a tough day too. But I could live with that one. Thank you, Alan. I really appreciate it. Good luck. It's tough having a birthday probably in the middle of January. I'm sure this has happened before, right? But TJ, the wind has been relentless. Yeah, absolutely, it's been relentless. Like, there's no question about it. It feels like 4 or 5 days in a row, right? We've been dealing with this was the first day we had a break, and now it's back. But yeah, definitely windy. It's going to keep being windy. I really think Thursday that we're going to see a wind advisory. Some of the malls have gusted 50 miles an hour on Thursday, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an advisory. So Nina, this is a good question. I like this one. Historically, are most nor'easters in February? Random question. We've seen them in pretty much every winter month, right? We've seen them in October. You get them October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Sometimes May. I don't like the May ones personally, but they can happen in any of those months, right? The most tend to be in February. If you look at like big blizzards, if I was to make a list of all-time blizzards, you'd see a lot of February on there. You'd see a lot of March on there, early March. I say January 15th to March 15th is kind of my nor'easter window for big ones. All right. Yeah, Eileen. Thanks for the question. Really, right now we're talking about potential for a moderate accumulation. So I do have the Canadian up as kind of middle ground. It shows kind of 2 to 4. It's trying to sneak that 2 to 4 threshold into Connecticut. It's more of a 1 to 3, but I kind of like a moderate 2 to 4, 3 to 6 right now, and we'll adjust from there. GFS is 20, Euros 1. The Canadian's a little bit in between. Yeah, thank you. She probably will want to come back in. I fed her in here thinking that she'd be content for the entire live video, but that did not come to fruition. Sherry, yeah, Sherry's our no snow dance person. Yep. So Eileen, I'd say we're about 2 days away from the memes, right? We're about, if this thing comes on Wednesday, we'll start seeing, it's still coming on Wednesday. We'll start seeing those memes pop up. Get the bread and the milk. I still get a little bit of enjoyment out of those. I mean, they've been shared so many times. It's a little old, but yeah, I still get some enjoyment. Mark's going to make a good point here. Yep, Euro 2012, really good with Sandy. Once in a lifetime storm, once in a lifetime modeling. I'll tell you what the Euro 2. So I was in college. This is my last story, and then I will stop talking. I was in college. There was a hurricane, and I'm blanking on the name right now. Every single model had it moving out to sea. The Euro brought that in to the Carolinas. It's 2015. The Euro showed it for like 2 or 3 days in a row, and then it happened. It was like every other model folded to the Euro. So it was on quite a run there, and then like I said, the run ended. But yeah, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. We'll keep tracking, right? That's all we can do. Somebody said it before, nature always wins. Doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter what anybody says. At the end of the day, it does what it wants to do, but we can try to track. So do really appreciate it. Thanks for all the likes, follows, shares. And have a good night.